Treco was a subsidiary of the Sammy Corporation, and they published 7 games for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. The immortal John Hancock here with another ranking video for Sega Genesis. And in these videos, I take a look at every game a company published, talk about them, review them, and give them a letter grade, and tell you if they're worth revisiting and going back and playing or collecting. And so I'm having a lot of fun doing these videos. If you want to rank it yourself, there'll be a link below. And I have also a link below for the other ranking videos that I've done. I've done a lot of these for the Sega Genesis and having a lot of fun. And so I'm getting a lot of feedback saying, wow, I didn't know that existed, or I didn't even know that was on the Sega Genesis, or a story about a game in particular that people have played. I love to hear all that in the comments. All right, so we're gonna get going and talk about Treco. This is a game company that a lot of people don't know of, but when you hear the games that they publish, you can be like, oh, okay, I played that. First up is Atomic Robo Kid. And this game is going to be either a hit or miss, depending on what you want in a video game. And so it is a side-scrolling, multi-directional shooter. This game was ported to some other computers and consoles, and it is an arcade port. Now, with that being said, Atomic Robo Kid is kind of up and down. And so some people hate it, some people love it. I'm kind of in the middle. What I don't like about this game is its cramped level design. I love the graphics. I think the graphics are great. It's got cool power-ups. You kind of control kind of a cutesy android that kind of is trying to be like part R2-D2, part something else. The game creates a great environment that you're on an alien world trying to save them. However, the level design makes it so cramped that you get hit very cheaply from enemies, and so it doesn't make that a lot of fun. And so the difficulty options in this game make it to where you just get more continues and lives, and so it doesn't make the game any easier on easy mode. You just get more chances to die, which you will do quite a bit in this game. I mostly rented this game back in the day in Redding, California, and you know, this is a game I'd rather play another shooter. Though it has great graphics. Bosses are called governors. I think there's a lot to be liked here, and for shooter fans, definitely worth checking out. But I'm going to give it a C. I think it could have been better. The level design could be better, and it would be more enjoyable. Next up is a broken fighting game called Fighting Masters. They should have called this Mega Pile Driver. That's right. It's got an awesome rock soundtrack, but you can control one of 12 sentient beings, and it's got really, really creative designs for every character. I chose a boxing horse in this video, and that's about where the game kind of then starts to fall apart. Okay, there's a jump button in this game. There's not any special moves, even though it advertises 65 devastating moves on the back, and you can jump super high in the air and slam them down into the ground. You can get hit twice. You have a super long health bar. It's kind of like the movie Gymkata. You know, it's a terrible movie that you need to at least watch once. That's what I think of Fighting Masters. This is a bad game that you need to at least play. There's actually a watch mode in this. I thought that was kind of cool. While this game is pretty bad, I do think it has some novelty to it, and I'm going to give it a D. Bad fighting game, very simplistic, things way better on Sega Genesis, but worth going back and playing at least once because it's so weird. Next up is the semi-generic Sorcerers Kingdom, and this is probably an RPG that you've either overlooked or don't know really a lot about on the Sega Genesis. You know, if you blink your eye, you would miss the ads back in the day of this in video game magazines. And the best way to describe Sorcerers Kingdom is if you combine Phantasy Star with Shining Force, and you're like, whoa, that's a great combination. It is. The story is rather generic. You know, you're trying to go after evil because of your missing dad. And you start off with one character. You eventually get other characters in your party. The overhead view kind of reminds me of Phantasy Star. What happens is, you get your typical weapons and items. When you fight enemies, it goes to like a battle tactics system. You become super powerful in this game, so I do like that. Graphics are pretty decent. I think the graphics are above average. The story is just so-so for me. This might be worth going back if you're tired of playing your same RPG over and over again. because this is pretty obscure. This is not a cheap game just because it is fairly difficult to find. And so going back and checking it out, I have to give this a C. It's average, but it's an average that you might have not played. I can imagine, there's families out there that purchased, the kid asked for Street Fighter and they got Street Smart. Oh man, I feel sorry for those people. So Street Smart is kind of an arcade port of an outdated fighting game in which it's got some interesting things about it. Unfortunately, there's no special moves with this either. Oh my gosh, come on. And so what you can do is there is like a wager system in this game in which you can bet on yourself. As you defeat opponents, you can choose to add to your life, power, or defense as you progress through the very generic fighters. The fighters are fairly small. It kind of just reminds me of kind of an 8-bit graphics game. Not that fun to play, pretty bland. I mean, I would play Fighting Masters over this, and Fighting Masters isn't that good at all. So avoid this. This is an F. I don't even know if it's worth playing once. Go play Street Fighter 2. All right, here's the ranking so far. Next up is a decent vertical shooter, and that's Task Force Harrier EX. I like this game, and so the graphics to me on this are a little flat, but it's got great sound, and I love the power-ups. It is an arcade port, and what's cool about this game is they took the power-up system of the arcade and expanded upon it. You have these like side ships, and you can choose the formations of them. What I also like about this game is that it's a great casual shooter for people that don't want to get hit and die over and over and over again. I was able to breeze through many levels on normal mode. If you're looking for a challenge, definitely try it on the most difficult setting. This is a good shooter, and it's one that's easy to get into. Definitely for casual shooter fans. I like it. I like these military style shooters the best. Weapon upgrades are varied. I like them. And I love that it's kind of a Xevious thing to it where your secondary attack kind of takes out ground targets. It's kind of fun. Anyways, I'm going to give this a B. I like it and worth going back and checking out. This is a shooter that maybe some have overlooked. Only published by Treco in Japan, and that's Twin Cobra. Now, Sega published this in the United States. It is a decent shooter. It's not a game that they created. I like this game. Now, this game is very different than Task Force Harrier EX. I think it has better graphics, but boy, this game is difficult. Very, very challenging. I didn't like the power-ups as much as Task Force Harrier EX, but I think both games are above average, and if you're looking for a challenge, definitely check this shooter out. And what I like about it is the level design is much more varied, and holy cow, it is a challenge though. You are gonna die quite a bit in this game. A challenge, but not as cheap as Atomic Robo Kid. And so, did you play this game? Do you remember this game? This is probably one of the more popular games that I showed today. I give it a B, solid title, worth going checking out. All right, last one, near and dear to my heart. This is Langrisser Overseas. It also was ported to the Switch PS4 with its sequel and with remade graphics. I like the original. And going back, and this was called Warsong in the United States. This is a game that has a cult following, and this is a tactic RPG in the same line as Fire Emblem. You have different commanders who have soldiers underneath them, and so you have a battlefield scenario. There's over 20 scenarios. You can upgrade your soldiers. There is a lot of strategy to this game. There's several people that have done free guides online to play this game. It is long though. Each turn takes a long time. You have individual soldiers and commanders to move. The commanders have magic. And so there's a lot of different ways you can beat each scenario. You can just, rush through commando style, take out their other commanders. If you take out the commanders, then their soldiers are dead. And so I love the battle sequences in which it shows the armies clashing with each other. It's really fast. Though it can get repetitive because there's lots of different soldiers and you have to watch these cutscenes, though there's ways of tweaking that to make it go faster. But overall, Warsong is a gem on the Sega Genesis. I think it's overlooked. I think it's excellent. It's not going to be for everybody, but this is a solid A, one of the better titles on the Sega Genesis, and well worth checking out. Of the titles that I'm talking about today, Warsong is probably the most known and a game that is definitely worth checking out if you're into those type of games. So that's it. That is my ranking of the 7 games. Here it is there. And if you want to rank these, you can do it below. I want to thank everybody for the ongoing support. Did you have any memories playing any of these games? I know that I played several of these. Wouldn't have thought about the company name itself, but when you bring up the individual games, you're like, oh yeah, I played that. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button and click the bell as I'm uploading videos every week. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you have a good day.